Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaura Haribo, Haribo, Nitai Gaura Haribo. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunya Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunya Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivara Dari Jaya Girivara Dari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivara Dari Jaya Girivara Dari. Yasodanandana Pajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Pajajana Ranjana Yamunadira Vanachari Jaya Kunya Bihari. Yamunadira Vanachari Jaya Kunya Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunya Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunya Bihari. Number 16. It's okay. Hare Krishna, good evening. I'm very happy to be with you. And this evening we will read from the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 11, the universal form, text 16. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So these are the prayers of Arjuna to the universal form. So the Bhagavad Gita has different kind of verses, meters of verses. So this is a bit a special verse. These prayers, they are all in another melody, because the number of syllables in the verse is different. So you can repeat. Aneka Baudara Vyakvaktranitram Pasyamitvam Sarvato Nandarupam Nantan Samadhyam Napunastavadim Pashyami Vishveshvara Vishvarupa Aneka Baudara Vaktanitam Pashyami Tvam Sarvato Nantarupam Nantam Samadhyam Napunastavadim Pashyami Vishveshvara Vishvarupam Aneka Baudara Vaktanitam Pashyami Tvam Sarvato Nantarupam Nantam Samadhyam Napunastavadim Pashyama Vishveshvara Vishvarupe Aneka Baudara Vaktanitam Pashyami Tvam Sarvato Nantarupam Nantam Samadhyam Napunastavadim Pashyama Vishveshvara Vishvarupam Aneka Baudara Vaktanitam Pashyami Tvam Sarvato Nantarupam Nantam Samadhyam Napunastavadim Pashyama Vishveshvara Vishvarupam Aneka Baudara Vaktanitam Pashyami Tvam Sarvato Nantarupam Nantam Samadhyam Napunastavadim Pashyama Vishveshvara Vishvarupa Aneka Baudara Vaktanitam Pashyami Tvam Sarvato Nantarupam Nantam Samadhyam Napunastavadim Pashyama Vishveshvara Vishvarupe. Ladies, please, Mataji's. Aneka Baudara Vaktanitam Pashyami Tvam Sarvato Nandarupam Nanta Samadhyam Napunastavadim Pashyama Vishveshvara Vishvarupe Aneka many Bau or arms Udara bellies Vaktra mouths Netram eyes Pashyami I see Tvam you Sarvata on all sides Anantarupam unlimited form Naantam no end Na madhyam no middle na punaha, nor again, tava, your, adim, beginning, pashami, I see, Vishva Ishvara, O Lord of the universe, Vishva Rupa, in the form of the universe. Translation and purport by Abhay Charanavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. O Lord of the universe, a universal form, I see in your body many, many arms, bellies, mouths and eyes expanded everywhere, without limit. I see in you no end, no middle and no beginning. Purport. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and is unlimited. Thus through him everything could be seen. Shakshurun militam yana tasmai shigove namah Chichitayamanobhistam stapitam yena bhutale svamrupkadamayam dadati svapadantikam Vandeham shiru shiyuda padakamlam Shirum vaishnavamsha Shirupam jagajatam saganaragnatam vitam tam sajivam sadvaitam savadutam parjana saitam Krishna chaitanya devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagalita Shivishakam Vitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jatpate Gopesha Gopka Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kansna Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshvri Vishabhanu Sutadevi Pranamama Haripe Vankha Kalpta Bisha Kripa Sinbhavisha Patinam Pavanabhyo Vaishnabhyo Namo Namah Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radha Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswata Devi Gaurvani Pacharani Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskachai Desatarni Srila Prabhupada ki. So in the beginning of this chapter, Arjuna is inquiring from Krishna, is asking him, I want to see how you are all-pervading, how you are present in this universe. That, because before we chant verses of the Bhagavad Gita, we chant Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Vasudev means, of course, the son of Vasudev, but means also all-pervading. Krishna is all-pervading. That it's not like us. That is a person and is all-pervading. So Krishna is teaching us in the Bhagavad Gita 3 confidential truths. At the end of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna concludes in the 18th chapter, he says to Arjuna, I will give you confidential knowledge. And then he will say, I will give you more confidential knowledge. And then he will say, I will give you the most confidential knowledge. Yes, the first level of realization is that Krishna is everywhere and is present through his energies. That if we realize that, then we realize that we are part of Krishna's spiritual energy. Mamaivam Shveloke Shiva Bhuta Sanatana. We are part and parcel of Krishna. We are from the same quality. Sat Chit Anandam. We are eternal. And we realize, yes, this body is made here of matter, which is Krishna's energy. So he prays here to the Lord. I see in your body many arms, bellies, mouths, eyes expanded everywhere. Means our eyes, our hands, our heads. It's not ours. This is Krishna's energy. That Krishna is all-pervading, means he's in every atom. He's in between every atom. If we realize this all-pervading aspect, then we learn to see Krishna everywhere. And the first level to see Krishna everywhere is see that everything is Krishna's energy. Krishna in the 7th chapter explains his material energies and his spiritual energies. Bhumirapanalavar Kama Buddha Evshankarityame Bina Bhakti. Krishna says, I have 8 separate material energies. 8 separate material energies. Earth, air, ether, fire, water, mind, intelligence, false ego. That's everything perceivable in this material world is this energy. But besides that, Krishna is saying, Apariyamitat Vamyem Pragatim Vidame Param. There is a higher energy, spiritual energy. But here is showing its universal forms. Its universal form. How he is factually present in his energies. This is Nyaya logic. Nyaya logic says the cause must be present in the result. Yes, Krishna says in the Bhagavatam to Brahma, the first of the 4 Shattr Shlokas, which he gave to Krishna, to Brahma, to the heart. Teni Brahma Hridaya Adikavaye. He gave him this first verse, Eamav Evasame Vagre Nanyantyat, and so on. He said, before the creation, I only existed. And then there was the creation, he says. Then the creation came for me. And at the end, everything is annihilated. And at the end, the only what is there is me, Krishna says. So that means that Krishna is the source of everything. That in his Bhagavan aspect, he is the source of everything. Therefore, the Bhagavatam teaches us about the absolute truth. That he said, yes. Tattvavitas, Vedanta tattvavitas tattvam gayam afyayam prameti paramatmeti bhagavan iti manyate. The absolute truth has 3 aspects. 3 aspects. Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. So the Brahman aspect is spiritual effulgence, which is everywhere. But this Brahman is not independent. Brahmano ipatishtanam, Krishna says. I'm the source of this Brahman. And not only Brahman, but I am the Supersoul. And I'm spread everywhere, expanded everywhere. So this absolute truth is explained here in practice. See, the Lord of the universe, He manifests Him in all these bodies, these eyes, these bellies, these mouths, and so on. It means that we are not a proprietor of these bodies. It comes from Krishna. This body belongs to Krishna. It's rented with our karma. With our past deeds in previous life, we got this body. But it's temporary. It's rented by our karma. Good and bad deeds, reactions. And at the end, you must give it back to Krishna. But there's more than that. Krishna says, it are my arms, bellies, and so on. It's mine. It's my energy. That's how I'm pervading myself to the whole universe. But it's not just from Him. Who controls this body? That's Paramatma. Paramatma controls the material energy, is the controller of the material energy. And that's the realization from the yogis. End of the 6th chapter. Yoginam ape sarvasam madhyantratmam shadavam vachateyamam sami yuktatamemata. The yogi at the end realizes that Paramatma, he comes in contact with the super soul in the heart. That how do we contact the super soul in the heart? Krishna explains in the 6th chapter the goal of the yogis. Shitatmana prashantasma, that Shitatmana prashantasma Paramatma Samaita. So, Shita Atmana. If one controls the mind, there are no material desires anymore in the mind, and the mind is under control of the intelligence, and intelligence is under control of the soul. How do we bring that under control? How do we bring the intelligence and the mind under control, that it becomes peaceful? It can only be done by engagement in devotional service. But that devotional service is performed with knowledge. Knowledge that is explained here. That Shitatmana. So by receiving transcendental knowledge, the intelligence becomes purified. And the soul gets faith. And the soul says yes. The soul becomes attached to this knowledge. And by that says to intelligence, yes. Instruct the mind and senses and engage them in the transcendental activities of loving service of the Supreme Lord. So, Shitatmana Prashantasma Paramatma Samaita. Then, when one becomes completely free from material desires, lust, anger, and greed, one finds the super soul in the heart. And then one understands Tristva Evatmana Ishvari. One understands that this super soul is the controller of everything. So, Krishna as the super soul is all pervading, but is controlling all this body, arms, bellies, mouths, eyes, and so on. Because Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Maya drakshana prakriti. I'm controlling material nature, Krishna says. I'm controlling. As the super soul, material nature, Maya drakshana prakriti. And he warms that, yes, in 327, that Prakriti kriyamani gunakaram nasav sankara vimutat makarta mitimanyate. Those who think they are controlling everything in this world, they are vimudas, Krishna says, super asses. That because everything is controlled by the material nature, and I control material nature. In the 18th chapter, Lord Krishna explains 5 factors of action: the body, the senses, then all the endeavors in the subtle body, that's the subtle body, and then you have the karta, the soul, and then the super soul. The super soul controls the body, the senses, and the subtle body. But the soul is the doer. How is the soul the doer? By desiring. That's the only thing we do. I desire to move my hand, and my hand moves, but I think I'm doing it. But in that doing, we are not the doer. There are 4 other factors. And Krishna says, one who forgets that he's not the only doer, and there are 4 other factors. He's not very intelligent, Krishna says. That he's not very intelligent. So, the purpose is that this leads us to divine vision, divine consciousness, how Krishna is all-pervading in this world. And that all-pervadingness of Krishna, we must learn to see everywhere. We must learn to see Krishna's hand everywhere. In verse 5 to 8 to 12, 8, 9, Krishna says, Naiva kinchit karomiti, yaktama me tatattvavit, bhajan spirans pishan shikhan, arsan krishan svapam svavsan, pralapam vrichinam rinam unmisam nimisam api, indiacht suvartaitidarian. A person in divine consciousness, one who sees the reality, the spiritual reality, although engaged in seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, moving about, sleeping, and breathing, always knows within himself that he actually does nothing at all. The soul only desires. Because while speaking, evacuating, receiving, or opening or closing his eyes, he always knows that only the material senses are engaged with their objects and is aloof from them. So that means the soul only desires. The symptom of the soul is consciousness. We are the consciousness. And the activity of the soul is desiring. But I'm not moving my hand now. I'm desiring to move. And Krishna moves. Is that the super soul? And that's the reality. Krishna says, mata smiti apahamsa. I mean, everyone's heart. And for me comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. Whatever you know, whatever you forget, whatever you remember, it's due to Krishna. If he allows you to remember, you will remember. Otherwise, you don't remember anything. But we forget these things. We think we are doing it. But Krishna says, no. No, Arjun, you are only an instrument. Nirmita matram. In my hands, and he shows how he kills them, how he killed them all. Duryodhana and Dronacharya, Bhishmadev, they are all eaten by this universal form, which is horrible to see. Because Arjuna did not want to see it, but he asked the question, show me your universal form. Show me your universal form, because he knew that in the future many so-called fake incarnations would proclaim themselves God. But yeah, being God is not so cheap. One cannot become God. God is already there. So that's the point. How to see that Krishna is everywhere, that he is doing things. And that means a devotee becomes an observer. We make plans in devotional service, yes. We make plans. But what will happen is not in our hands. So we make plans, but we always, this I learned from Bhurijan Prabhu, he was my teacher for the Bhakti and Bhaktivedanta course and at the VHG, and he always said, yes, we will do that if Krishna willing. If Krishna willing. So there is a bigger plan. Krishna is already his plan. So you get this body, and this body is a machine. Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Ritshayuna Tishtati Brahmayam Sarva Bhutani Yantra Rudraya Maya. Krishna says, I'm in everyone's heart, in every body. And I'm conducting all the wanderings of the living entity of that body. And the living entity is seated in that body, made of material energy. We are seated in this body, the passenger. But Krishna is conducting it. All the wanderings. That means, that's explained in the Bhagavatam. Tasheva ita payate tukovito nalapyate ad brahmatamyo parita. Talapyate dukavan anyato sukan kalena savrata kabir amasa. One can, this is Narada Muni speaking to Srila Vyasadeva, and he said, one must search for this happiness in this world. One should search for happiness in this world. So, one should search for that happiness which cannot be attained in this world. And what happiness in this world is concerned, you don't have to endeavor for that, because that will come on its own accord, like distress comes on its own accord. Who wants distress? But it comes. And Krishna says, happiness for the body will come. But it's happiness for the body. The body is not us. It's this machine. And we are identifying with this mind and the mind, and because our subtle body is contaminated with this idea that I'm the body. We think ourselves, Krishna says we are part and parcels of Krishna, spiritual. But we think ourselves part and parcel of this world. And that's the problem. That's called false ego. And by that false ego, we identify with the mind. The mind tells us, yeah, now that happens, and now you must be sad, and so on. You come in this duality of attachment and aversion. Attachment and aversion. That makes us identify with this body. But we have to become the observer. See what Krishna does. That's very important. That there are two things here. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj said, you should act in such a way that everything depends on you, while knowing that nothing depends on you. And that's very important. So we have to do our best and make plans in devotional service to serve Krishna. But what happens is not up to us. We should know that. And we have seen Arjuna became an instrument. If you understand that, Krishna is going to use you as an instrument, really. And you will do things you will never thought of doing. that is Krishna. You will do things that... So Krishna is showing here how he is all-pervading. Because factually, there is only Krishna in this world. Krishna is making your heart beating, your digestion going, gives you knowledge, forgetfulness, that he's doing everything. And we only desire, and our material desires will be fulfilled according to what we deserve. You take birth, and your happiness and distress is already destined in this world. And that's what you are going to get. And an expert Vedic astrologer, he can read your chart and tell you that's your karma, that's what you are going to get, the happiness and distress. But it's for the body. We don't want this kind of happiness and distress. It's nonsense. It's sown all over. We want Anandamaya. We want the happiness of the soul, eternal happiness, ecstasy, by loving Krishna. So these are parallel teachings here in Bhagavad Gita. Understanding material nature, and then understanding our real nature. We are spiritual, not this body, and acting on the spiritual platform, and that will make us happy. And that's the point in the purport. Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead and unlimited. Thus, through him, everything could be seen. So, in this world, we have to learn to see Krishna. And when you see Krishna everywhere, then you love Krishna. Because that's the purpose. That we have to give up our I and mine, thinking that we are the enjoyer in this world. Enjoyer and the proprietor of things. So Krishna says, no, you are not a proprietor, not even of your body. It's my body. But it's under your care for the moment. You wanted to enjoy like God, you can try through this body. Good luck. And here we are. So Krishna is telling us, give it up. Because all these bodies are eaten at the end. All gone. That it's all for nothing. Krishna says very clearly in Bhagavad, one who lives for the body and the senses, for the pleasure of the body and the senses, lives for nothing. No, we need to come to the point of realizing our real position as subordinate to Krishna. And we are servants of Krishna. Service, that's our dharma. Srila Prabhupada explains the word dharma does not mean religion or something. Dharma means the occupation of the spirit soul. Acting according to the occupation of the spirit soul. That's the highest dharma. Parodharmo, savai pumso, parodharmo, the highest dharma. Savai pumsam, for all humans, there is a highest, there is a parodharmo. So wij poesappen, yato bhaktira doksai. En dat is, the soul must render unalloyed devotional service to the Supreme Lord. And that must have two qualities. To be ecstatic. Ahaituk apatiyata. Ahaituk means without any cause, just out of love for Krishna. Apatiyata, always. And then, Savaipumsa parodamo yato bhakti orthodoxia ahaituk apatiyata yayatma, the atma, the soul, suprasiddhati, will feel very satisfied. But in this world we are, if we want to enjoy things in this world, thinking we are the doer, never satisfied. Duspura analena, Krishna says. You want more and more and more, and you are never satisfied. Because you are never satisfied when you die, the material desires are still there, and next life the same thing, they come up again. It's without end. So, that is the conclusion of this chapter. Krishna comes up at the end of Bhagavad Gita, the most confidential knowledge is manmana, always think of me. And when you always think of Krishna, what are you going to do? Machai, you worship him. Mamna namaskar, you offer him respect. So that's the purpose, developing this unalloyed love. And that's the conclusion of this chapter. Krishna says, Bhakta Vayanan Yaya Sakya Aham Emam Hamyam Vidoryanam Ghatum Drasa Tatvana Paveshtum Sa Parantapa. Only by undivided devotional service can I be known, Krishna says. And with this pure devotional service, you can go back to the spiritual world and get back your spiritual existence, eternal existence. That's the purpose of Bhagavad Gita. But you can only go to Vaikuntha or the spiritual world if the heart is full of love for Krishna, for Bhagavan. Therefore, Bhagavan is the highest, the most confidential knowledge. Love for Krishna. And Paramatma is nice realization that seeing Krishna in this world makes us Krishna conscious. But Paramatma realization alone will not give you entrance to the spiritual world. You need this love, this highest. So Krishna says, it's not by yogic practice that you know me, that you develop love for me. It is not by Brahman realization. That's a partial realization. You need to develop this love for me. And that's the purpose. If we develop this love, then our material existence is finished. Our business in this world is over. That we have realized there is no happiness in this world. There is only happiness on the spiritual platform, in my relationship with Krishna. So Krishna consciousness means constantly living in a relationship with Krishna. And Arjuna was living in that relationship. He did not need to know about his universal form, because he was already living in his relationship with Krishna as a friend. And he will tell Krishna, I don't want to see it anymore at the end. This is horrible, that with this universal form I cannot have a relationship. Please show me again your two-armed form. And then Krishna showed first his four-armed Vaikuntha form and then his two-armed form. And that's the most beautiful form. Hare Krishna. Any question? Yes?
Thank you, Maharaj, for the inspiring lecture. You mentioned that our material desires are fulfilled. Maybe I'm paraphrasing a little bit. That our material desires are fulfilled according to our karma. So the question comes to my mind: what is our spiritual desires dependent onto?
Okay, well, what are our spiritual desires dependent on? Well, if you are full of material desires, if your material desires are high, your spiritual desires are practically nothing. It must go the other way. And that realization comes surely by purifying our heart. Therefore, the first 9 cantos of the Srimad Bhagavatam, they focus on how to get liberation. Liberation we get if we give up these foolish material desires. That it's all temporary. And we hear stories of Chitraketu and so on in the Bhagavatam. That like suppose I've the power to know one's previous life, and I have a picture of Advaita Singha Prabhu in his previous life, and in his previous life he was a woman, and I show him the picture with 5 sons. I show it to him. What does it say to you? Nothing. But in this life, we are so attached to our family and all the problems and all of this and that. And what with the family in your previous life and the life before and the life before? Are you still concerned about that? It's all futile. So that is the first thing we must learn. This is all futile. All this sex attraction and all this horrible business. It's futile, we must give it up. And at the same time, we must cultivate paramdrist vanivartate, the higher taste. So we must follow all regulative principles. That brings down this fever of trying to exploit this material world. And then at the other side, we must cultivate devotional service. Start serving Krishna selfless, without the idea I'm the proprietor and the enjoyer. No, Krishna is the proprietor and the enjoyer. And everything what he gives under my care I will use in his service. I give it out of love without asking something in return. That's practice. And the material desires may still be there, but they will soon start to disappear. In a short time of 20, 30, 40 years, you are completely cleansed. And then you are free. Then you can give your love. But you cannot give love when the heart is full of these material desires. Because what do we all want? What we really want is we want to love and be loved. And we want to get that in this world. But it's futile. So we must understand the first thing here. And we must understand there is no happiness in this world. Prahlad Maharaj said, one who thinks that there is happiness in this world, that's the beginning of his unhappiness. And one who has understood that there is no happiness in the world, that's the beginning of one's happiness. But all these material desires is about lust, anger, and greed. The so-called love in this world is lust. That's what it is. Because woman and man coming together because they want something from each other. It's not so-called of pure love. Certainly not pure love. But we are speaking about spiritual love, pure love. And we must learn that art. And Krishna, for the conditioned soul, yes, they want happiness in this world, but do they get it? Mostly not, because they get reactions from our previous lives, that's all. That's what you get. You please someone else's senses, and you did some service to humankind, and you get it back. Okay, happy. But no, it doesn't give happiness. So that is a gradual process of purifying the heart. But these things should be thoroughly understood, and therefore we must hear again and again, every day Bhagavad Gita, every day Bhagavad I'm hearing. Very important. Then at a certain point we hear it again and again, and still the mind wants to do something else, but after some time it starts to sink in. That you see the people around you dying and so on, and oh, I'm the next. That this body goes to its end. People forget that. They work hard for their own life to get some, and then a few years later they are dead. That it's like someone becomes a millionaire for 2 seconds. Oh, it's finished. Okay. It's useless. But if we love Krishna, it's forever. That's Krishna says, I'm the friend of all living entities, and he's our only real friend. We have so-called friends with all motives. But we must give up all these motives. That's purity. Does that help?
Just a quick follow-up thing. So my spiritual desire may become manifest even before it's 100, even before it's unmotivated.
Yeah. The point is, Srila Prabhupada, someone asked Srila Prabhupada, how many pure devotees are there in ISKCON? And Srila Prabhupada looked at his secretary and said, how many devotees do we have in ISKCON? He was thinking all the devotees in ISKCON to be pure devotees. Did that mean that their heart was pure? No. But their motivation was pure. Iyayasya dasye karmana manasagari nikalash abhavastusu jivan mukta sae uchate. Jivan mukta, how to act as a liberated soul. You must only use your body, mind and words only in the service of Krishna. Nothing for myself. Everything only in the service of Krishna. Nothing for myself. Everything for Krishna. Everything for Srila Prabhupada's mission. Everything just to please Krishna. And then you are unmotivated materially and fully motivated spiritually. So that is important. That to act only for the pleasure of Krishna. In the 70s, when you joined ISKCON, then that means you were living in the temple. When you were living outside, you were in Maya, you were not devotee. That was, Now it's completely the opposite. Everyone lives outside the temple. 80-90% lives out of the temple. But at that time, joining ISKCON means you give away all your possessions to the movement. You join, and you went out on the street with magazines and Harinam and books 8 to 12 hours a day. And that was it. And so they were not motivated for themselves. It was all for the mission. And this period in the 70s, in the history of the Hare Krishna movement, is called the years of the Hare Krishna explosion. We spread all over the world like wildfire. And there became big reactions also, but anyway, that was unprecedented. And it went even, even up to Srila Prabhupada's disappearance, things over a few years later, but then the devotees start to marry, and anyway, so many things. But that was the power. So we can be pure devotees without being pure in heart. And the verse, if you use your body, mind, convictions, and words all in the service of Krishna, you are imperceptibly liberated. You will soon be liberated. It will go very quick. And that is the shortcut. If we are not preaching, we are not taking the shortcut. Then it's going slow. But Krishna explains at the end of the Bhagavad Gita, surrender unto me, and then he says, explain this knowledge to others. And there is no one more dear to me than the preacher, Krishna says. So that's the shortcut. Therefore we are here. Therefore this temple is here, so that everyone can hear about Krishna and take to this shortcut. Get out of here. That's the message. Yes? Oh. Okay. First, I take first.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Maharaj, for your class. Actually, I want to ask about control our desires, but you already answered these questions. That's why I have the other question. You said we should love Krishna. But for love Krishna, we should surrender to Him. How to surrender to Him, or with other words, maybe how to be a servant of Krishna?
Yeah, how to be a servant of Krishna. So we for many lifetimes we have been a servant of Maya, not of Krishna. That's a problem. We must again learn to serve Krishna. We must learn from one who is expert, who has done it. That's called the spiritual master. Krishna says, Tat vinapana partner pariprashna sevya upadiksantekanam ganas tat vadakshana. So it said, take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, inquire from him, render service unto him submissively. And then, if we are submissive, we learn, he will give you instructions how to progress in spiritual life and learn this art of Krishna consciousness. He will teach you how, during 24 hours a day, to only see Krishna in your life. And that's an art to be learned. But that's Krishna's system. You must learn this art from someone who is specialized in this art, who is expert. He has done it. He has liberated. He can explain you how you can become liberated. But you must first learn what is a bona fide spiritual master and recognize the symptoms, not blindly following. Understand what liberation means. Does that help? Okay. I take the other question. Yeah.
Thank you for your inspiring lecture, Prabhu. I wanted to ask, how could the Kshatriyas manage their inner wish of leading the world? Because as I heard, sometimes the Kshatriyas, they had that wish to lead the world, and I think controlling is also a part of leading. Also their attachment to honor, and how could those things go along with Krishna consciousness?
The bona fide Kshatriyas, they were trained in Dharma, the occupational duties of a king. And they followed that strictly. And the specialist in that was Bhishmadev. He knew this very well. Maharaj Yudhishthir. Bhishmadev gave also a number of qualities which all living entities must develop. And he gave also the instructions for Kshatriyas how to rule. Of course, a main instruction there is they are acting always under direction of the Brahmins. And that's very important. But today there are no qualified Brahmins. That's Kali Yuga. Yeah. Everyone is a Sudra, and that's reality. But they were following this Dharma very strictly. They would make a vow and never break it. That's a rule of Dharma. That they would follow all the rules of Dharma, which are very complex. This is not a Parodharma. This is the Dharma of the Varnashram, of the perfect Vedic society. And that must be learned, and when all these kings were trained in that. And therefore, although they were in contact with the mode of passion, and yes, they wanted to be king, but under these conditions, because these laws of Dharma are Krishna's laws, and they wanted to follow Krishna's laws. But to be a good Kshatriya, you have to be a devotee of Krishna. And a devotee of Krishna develops the qualities which are above a Brahman, higher. Of course, that does not mean that you get initiation, that you are above a Brahman. No, it means that you will, by your practice of devotional service, after 30, 40 years become purified and get liberation, and then you go beyond a Brahman. But you are a good quality, in good position. So therefore these Kshatriyas, they were glorifying and always very much respecting the Brahmins, giving charity. Charity was very important to the Brahmins and so on. So it's this Varnashram is a beautiful society, and Srila Prabhupada wanted us to start establishing that. Because many people will not be able to take to Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness for many is too high. They are too attached to family life or this or that, and they cannot get out of it. But if they are working within the Varnashram system, they are at least coming to the mode of goodness. And from goodness you can understand things as they are. And from there you can practice Krishna consciousness. And that is what we need. This society today is hellish. Hellish. I traveled from Brussels to Passau, I can say, what I see, horrible world. But still, you see also the beauty of Krishna everywhere at the same time. Okay, thank you very much. Maybe, yeah, okay, this is the last question. Last question.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for the nice lecture. Oftentimes I feel my spiritual life that's also a false pride blocking me from really surrendering and also from getting off this attachment to the body and identification with the body. Maybe you can talk shortly about how to get more free or completely free of false pride.
Yeah, free from false ego. Like I said, the cause of false ego is that we think we are a part and parcel of this material world. and by that we identify with the body and the mind. And we live just for nothing, for fulfilling material desires. But to be free from false ego means first understanding that this is wrong. Our life, our conception of life is completely wrong. We are part and parcel of Krishna. We are spiritual, have nothing to do with this world. And the activity of the soul is serving Krishna out of love. So it means engage in devotional service. Then you are acting as according to your real ego. And we should 24 hours a day only do that, serving Krishna. In everything what we do. Yat karosi yat asnasi yat yos dadasi tat karusma vadarpanam. So, whatever you do, Krishna says, whatever sacrifice you do, whatever offering you do, so whatever penance, do it as an offering to me. So 24 hours a day. That's tapasya, tapodivyam. This tapasya is devotional service. And then, gradually, this false ego starts to crumble. But it's a gradual process. It doesn't happen overnight. The result, the deeper result will come in many years. But one can say, oh, it comes in 30, 40 years, or I don't know. But Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport of 10.9 that, yes, as a result, on the long term, we will feel ecstasy of the soul, this love. But if you now already engage in devotional service, you will feel satisfied, already satisfied from the beginning, the first second you do it. But it works. You can see great souls in this movement who are happy. And that's the purpose, to become happy in life. And otherwise we suffer. We think we are this body. I'm going to die and this, that. But we are eternal. We don't die. Anyway, good. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.